Football season is right around the corner, and we are so pleased to be joined in studio by the winningest quarterback in Texas Longhorns history, and a Jim Ned Indian, and a two-time Dave Campbell's Texas football cover boy, Colt McCoy. Colt, thanks for your time, man.
Two-time.
That's a short list of people who have been on multiple covers. Do you remember this magazine and like the cover shoot?
I do remember that. I remember this was at UT. It was in one of the players' lounge or something, and we had all the lights off, and everybody kept walking by, and it was guys giving you a hard time, and you're trying to keep a straight face. It's hard for me to do. I like to smile.
Yeah, I know. What I will tell you, I don't know if you know this. This is the best-selling magazine we've ever had. It was 2009. I'm not kidding you. Yeah, it is. So. Thanks on behalf of the studio we've got here.
That's a throwback for sure.
It is, but you look the same. You're looking still pretty young and slim. You're staying in good shape. I want to ask you a little bit about your post-playing career and what you're up to now. I know there are Texas fans out there who hold you dear in their heart. What's Colt McCoy up to these days?
Yeah, moved back to Texas. I ended up playing 14 years in the NFL, which was awesome. Coming from Jim Ned High School and getting to go play at the University of Texas. I didn't really have dreams and aspirations of going to the NFL, and then all of a sudden, you make it and got to play for 14 years. Didn't accomplish all my goals and dreams. Battled a lot of injuries, which is ultimately why I had to retire. I tore my elbow up and had a couple surgeries that I tried to fight through them, but it was just one of those things. I knew I couldn't make it after that. But I stayed in Phoenix for a year and tried to figure out where I wanted to live, what I wanted to do. Thought I'd be a coach for the longest time. I don't guess I ever really closed the doors on anything, but right now I moved back to Texas. I want to spend a lot of time with my family. I've got 4 little kids, 10, 8, 6, and 4. And so it's been great. Kind of moved close back to family. I hadn't lived around my family in a long time. So that's been really nice, and kind of started a little business, and just enjoying, buying some time back with my kids and being back in Texas, and it's been pretty special.
You mentioned you getting your start at Jim Ned. Your start. I don't want to bring this up, but this is the 2004 edition, and you were actually second team super team behind Chase Daniel.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
How mad are you still today about that?
Chase turned out to have a pretty good career too, right? We went back and forth. Never played Southlake because they were the big school. I don't know that they ever lost a game. Did they ever lose a game? Not many.
You're asking the high school football guy, and suddenly I don't know.
Chase is a good friend. Had a great career. I remember when I was in college, one of my roommates, later in my career was Derek Lokey. And Derek played at Denton Ryan, and he was named the Dave Campbell's, I believe Dave Campbell's Player of the Year over Adrian Peterson. Maybe 2003 or 2004, and he wears that with pride. I mean, that was he was in the house. He was like, "There's nobody else in here who was the Player of the Year." Just saying, I was.
Hey, he was a dog at Ryan. He was incredible.
He was. He was.
Going back to your time at
so was Adrian Peterson.
He was okay if you're into that kind of thing. Just that's the headline for the clip, by the way, is Colt McCoy compliments OU Sooner, Adrian Peterson.
Right. Teammate. I did play with him for a couple years.
Going back to your time at Jim Ned, how did that prepare you for what you did in college and then off to the pros?
Yeah, I think when I go back to where I grew up, Jim Ned High School, my dad was my high school football coach. I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, it was very special. You got to play all the sports. Football was king, obviously, but it was really, really one of the most fun times of my life, and getting to share that with my dad and all my old friends and teammates, and then moving off to college. You don't know what college holds at that point. I mean, if I went back into my community and asked them to raise your hand who thought I was going to go to the University of Texas and be a 4-year starter and go to the NFL, I don't think you'd see very many hands raised, right?
Yeah.
But, things happen, and, I hit a growth spurt and had the opportunity and took advantage of the opportunity, and here we are. But I would say my time at Jim Ned was really, really special, and, I loved growing up in a small town and, experiencing Friday Night Lights and just all the things. It was great.
Okay, so you played at the Cotton Bowl. You've played in big time NFL stadiums. I want to go back to Jim Ned. Do you remember what the toughest place to play was when you were playing at Jim Ned?
Yeah, we had some district rivalries. In fact, I went to Midland not too long ago, and I was giving my wife just a history lesson of you Colorado City, Stanton, Kahoma.
Oh yeah.
The Mustang Bowl in Sweetwater. Just making sure she knew that, like, hey, I played there, threw a couple touchdowns here, whooped this team here.
The important things.
Yeah, the important things.
Be like the Stanton Buffaloes hate to see me come in.
They didn't like that when we came over. When I was in high school, we played in Region 1 for a couple years, and then we were in Region 2. So, my junior and senior year, we were all West Texas, North Texas. Freshman, sophomore year, we were all, we came over here and played the Dallas schools, and especially when you get into basketball, that was tough. I know we're talking about football here, but the whole Peaster, Ponder, Argyle, they were all Brock, they were all basketball schools back then. They were good. Yeah. Now they're winning state championships in football. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. It's,
but yeah, that was a ton of fun. Hardest places to play. Most fun places to play for me in high school, we would always play in the Gordon Wood Classic.
Yeah.
And so playing in Brownwood, that felt like the biggest stadium at the time I'd ever played in, and it was a lot of fun, and those were special memories.
It was on to the University of Texas, where we mentioned you're the winningest quarterback in Texas history. Looking back on your career, is there a game or a moment that you remember most fondly from your time on the 40 acres?
Yeah, I get asked that question all the time. Back at UT, I mean, there's no better game than the Cotton Bowl. I mean, you're playing, you're meeting them halfway, and crowd split right down the middle. You share the same tunnel. The anticipation of that game, throughout the year, knowing it's at 11 o'clock every on this Saturday, and I mean, I love that game. We only experienced one loss, and that seems to be the only one I can remember. Just as a competitor, so I want that one back. But that was a really special game, And then we played A&M every year. That's a fun home and home. And then, just back in the day, the Big 12 was really good. I mean, you want a tough place to play is when you go out to Lubbock. I mean, they're on top of you, and it's loud, and it's tough. These Saturday nights out there were tough. Oklahoma State was really good. Their stadium is there's no room on the sidelines, so you're just constantly getting heckled. And then you talk about going to Nebraska, going up to Missouri. I mean, it was, all those teams were really good, so the environments were great, and it was a special 4 years. But nothing's like playing at UT. Yeah. I mean, there's just nothing like it.
Before we go any further, I want to make sure we shout out the people who are bringing us here. Relief, you're here on behalf of our friends there at Relief. Can you tell us a little bit about your partnership with them and what brings you in today?
Yeah, Relief right here. Listen, I'm old. Right?
Buddy.
I've got hit a lot.
That's bad news for me if you're old.
And listen, bumps and bruises. I've had my share of surgeries and injuries. I still like to move around and work out and finish, getting my elbow right. I've used all the creams and icy hots and patches and all the things. I teamed up with Relief because I think it really works. It's helpful for me. It's natural. It smells good. It's not too lotiony. It feels right. Kind of gets you warmed up, and it does wonders for me. I've shared it with all my buddies, and colleges, NFL teams, everybody uses it. I think it's the best product out there for your aches and pains, and it's been very good for me.
You played under Mac Brown there at Texas. I'm curious now, looking back. Is there a lesson or something you took from Coach Brown that you've kind of applied moving forward that you really took to heart?
Yeah, listen, Coach Brown took a flyer on me. I'm not sure if Dave Campbell's Texas football in high school had me going to the University of Texas. They predicted a lot, but I don't know if they got that one. And so I always felt like, I would do anything for him, and I still feel that way. But the message that Coach Brown always preached to me is nothing ever here is going to be given to you. It's always going to be earned. And I wanted to play quarterback there. Well, I checked into UT at 6 foot and probably 170 pounds. It's like, I don't know if you can play here, son, but we might find a spot for you somewhere if you work hard. And, I hit a growth spurt and I worked hard. I redshirted, and all of a sudden I had an opportunity to go win a job. And Coach Brown made it very clear, like, this isn't your job. You can go win this job, but it's not. It's going to take a lot. And I felt like I had to earn that job every year, all 4 years. And that's the culture that he created, and I believe in that fully. I mean, my dad was my high school coach, so I had to earn that job twice as much as anybody else. And so that will always stick to me, and I'm grateful for him and what I got to do.
You were the quarterback the last time the Texas Longhorns were in the national championship game. We won't talk about that, but I do want to ask you about the current state of the Longhorns.
Yep.
A lot of expectations going into 2025 after back-to-back college football playoff appearances. What's Colt McCoy's read on the state of the Longhorns?
No, I'm high on these guys for sure. I mean, went through a little drought there for 10 or 11, 12 years, whatever it was, struggled. But I really am a fan of Coach Stark and what he's done. I don't think there's a better recruiter and retainer of talent as a coach. There's not anybody. I think this team is going to have a lot of challenges. They've got a lot of new starters on both sides of the ball. I mean, look at how many guys have been drafted the last couple of years. It feels like we're like Texas football is back to the blue blood, top 10 team. And I don't think that'll change this year. However, I do think, I think I'm excited to watch Arch, but he's got all 5 new offensive linemen, a few new pass catchers, and, the secondary all got drafted. There's a lot of pieces that guys have to step up and play and play well. I mean, and early. We got to go to Ohio State week 1 on the road. I think that's definitely a winnable game. We should win that game. But at the same time, there's a little less experience than what there has been the last couple of years. I just particularly look at the O-line and the D-line. I mean, I've played long enough to understand that that's where games are won and lost consistently. And, we had guys last year that had played for 3 or 4, 50 games, a lot of them. And, you got to replace those guys. And there's a lot going on with a first-year quarterback that, that they got to play good and play good early. Then you got to go to Florida, then you got to go to Georgia, then you got to play Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. I mean, it's not an easy schedule. So my expectations are high, just like everyone else. But at the same time, I'm realistic that it's going to be a tough one.
Finally, you mentioned you and your wife have 4 kids. How did reading blitz packages prepare you for having 4 children?
Amazingly,
yeah.
Right? Hey, there's going to be challenges. There's going to be, you expect one thing, you're going to see another. You got to be able to adjust, and the good ones can adjust. It's part of the drill, part of being a dad. You got to be able to adjust. If the bedtime's at 7 and they don't want to go to sleep and it's 8, you got to be able to pull some strings and make something, call an audible and make it work.
Your wife's calling out blitz pickups over here, like, over here, you got to get this one.
Yeah, right.
I get that.
Hey, with 4 kids, it's both. It's not just me. My wife is amazing. She's an all-star. It's definitely a team effort, but I'm loving, the time and being home and present and kind of buying some of that time back.
He's Colt McCoy. He is here on behalf of our friends at Relief and the winningest quarterback in Texas Longhorns history. Colt, appreciate your time, my friend. Good to see you.
You bet. Thank you.